Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. We have been working on this Gottlieb home run pinball machine, Wedgehead, look at it, for a couple videos now. So if you haven't seen the other videos, go check them out on our channel. They're the ones that were uploaded just before this one. Or you can go on our channel and just search home run and this will pop up. You know, the title of the machine is in the title of the video. So go check that out. But if you have been watching, then you know what we've done. We got this game in from our buddy Shane, and Shane did like a horrible paint job on it. He says he didn't do it. I think he did it. Somebody has been touching this thing up, and they didn't touch it up very far. If you're going to touch it up and this is all you do, don't do it, people. Just leave it how it was. There's no way it looked worse than that. It's impossible. So it looks like a while back somebody tried to repaint part of it and just... So this is how it... This side they never messed with. It must have been against the wall or something. Couldn't get to it. The front's all messed up. This side's horrible. I mean, bad as it gets. Worst paint job I've ever seen. But anyway, with all of that said, on the first video, we worked on the playfield, cleaned it up, got it all looking good. And on the next video, we took the playfield back out and worked on this mechanism board. There were some broken things and things missing and all of that. Cleaned everything, and we believe we've got all this working, but we don't know yet because we can't get the game to start without everything in the back box being all right as well. So I'm going to pull it out from the wall a little bit, and on this video we're going to work in the back box and get all of that fixed. Give us a thumbs up here at the beginning of the video if you think you're going to like it. I think you're going to like it, so give us a thumbs up. We appreciate that. It helps spread the video around YouTube. Okay, so let's look inside of it. All right, so they also didn't paint the back, so it's at least halfway how it's supposed to be. So here is the back light panel. You know, there's not much on it because these Wedgeheads, since they're one player, they were able to design them a little simpler where they didn't need quite as much stuff. So it's dominated by this big bell here. You want to hear it? Let's see what she sounds like. I might be able to do it with one of the point reels, one of the point relays, maybe. No, none of them are powered right now. Okay, you'll have to hear it later. Okay, so there's a big bell there. There is what they call the ball count unit over here, this stepper. And usually there's some other, there's a couple other switches on the back of that, so we'll have to lay it down. And then we have 5 relays here, F, N, M, L, and K. We'll have to track down what that means. We have 4 score reels here, but if you look on the front, I think didn't it have... Look, there's 4 score reels, but there's 5 scores. That's because one of them's fake. There's like a fake score reel on all these pinball machines. That's not a real one. It just looks like one. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And then they also have this over here. It's the runs score, the run wheels. So the 1s run unit and the 10s run unit. And it's a baseball themed game, so they're just keeping track of your home runs for you, which is probably going to be an interesting little feature. So we'll check that out. But the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to unplug it, of course. I'm going to unplug it, and we're going to work on this ball count unit. Now, what I like to do is kind of turn it, if it'll turn. Let's see what's going on here. So it has reset to where it is. Right, and then this should step it up, but that's not doing anything. So something's jammed up. Something ain't right. That's a problem. Okay, I'll lay that down and let's get a good look at the back of it, see if we can figure out what's going on. Okay, so this is easy to lay down. There was a little hairpin clip here, and you can just hinge it down. Look, there's some here as well, right? But whenever you do that, you can see that whenever this coil pulls in, it's moving this armature here, and the thing is just seized flat up. Look at that. You can barely move it. So why would that be? Well, it's probably just seized up, just needs oiled. So I'm going to try to oil the crap out of it and see if I can get that moving freely. It should move very easily. This one should move as well. All of these pivots have just seized up tight as heck. Now on the other one, it hasn't. But if you look, there's a nylon bushing there. So it's metal through a nylon bushing. And it's still moving fine. But this one here, see, that's metal with a metal pivot. Look, it's not moving either. It should pull in, but it's well, no, it's moving. Yeah, it's fine. So that one's all right. It's just this one. It could be that someone's turned this screw and made it too tight. So let me work on it a little bit and oil it up a little bit and see if I can free it up. And that will probably fix this whole unit, but we'll clean it up too. Okay, so I oiled it a little bit, and then this screw, it seems like somebody had just cranked down on it, and I just loosened it a little bit, and it opened it right up. So now it moves really freely. This piece moves really freely. That's how you want it. It should be, you know, where it does its thing. So I think we got that. So the next thing I'm going to do just on the back, and really there's not all that much to these, right, is we're going to clean these switches. So there's a switch here that whenever that spins around, and it's still not moving all that great because we haven't worked on the front yet, but whenever that spins around, that bar there hits this switch, and it closes one and opens the other. So if you look, watch when I hit it. I'm trying to get it where you can see. Watch when I hit this small one. See how it moves independent of the large one in the middle? It's because they're not really touching. So that's supposed to be closed, and then whenever this bar gets here, it pushes it off of that and onto that. Right? Now, one of the things about this is an add a ball machine, which means that it doesn't store credits. You just win more balls. So the only way to play it is to drop a coin in it. So if you, there's no way really to put it on free play without a button that you press. Now, it looks like they, I don't know if they've done anything to mod this to make it free play. But that add-a-ball unit, I mean that ball count unit, that switch may have something to do with that. I don't know. But we're going to adjust it back how it's supposed to be. And then over here there are also switches. When this goes all the way in, it hits switches, right? They call it an end-of-stroke switch usually. It's just basically every time this goes off, it's going to make these switches connect. Okay, let me clean those up a little bit, and we'll move on to the other ones. Now, I use a little file to clean the contacts, but you don't want to use something real abrasive like a very aggressive file, because you don't want to eat away the contacts on the thing. You're just trying to clean it. When you can get to them pretty good like this, you might even want to use like a little piece of paper or something that's wet to get. You're just trying to get the dirt off of the contacts so that they conduct electricity. If they've got black stuff all over them, the electricity is not going to pop through those contacts like it should. Okay, so I'm going to clean it up a little bit, and then we can work on the front. Okay, so I folded it back up. Now, you kind of need to keep track of how this goes on there, right? If you're going to remove it. But by looking at it, it looks like you don't really have to remove it. All we're trying to do is clean these rivets and these rivets, which you can do without removing the thing. But basically, it looks like these line up with the first wire over here, the first set of rivets. And so whenever that goes all the way back, it goes to there. And then when the other one goes up, you know, it steps past it. And that's as far as she'll go. And you might think, well, why do they have another rivet there? Well, these things were used for other games and other setups. So I suppose it doesn't ever need to touch that last rivet, or it could be on there wrong, but I think it's probably right. So I'm just going to clean up these rivets. You can use like really, some people say they use Scotch-Brite pads, that's fine. You can use really mild sandpaper. You can try to clean them with degreaser and just try to get them as shiny as possible, whatever you want to do, but you need to get those shiny, get that all cleaned up, and then I put a little dielectric grease on them. So let me clean on them a little bit and see if we can get it where it looks like the juice will flow right through them. Okay, so I just moved it around and cleaned the rivets and then put a little dielectric grease on them. This is what we use. It's dielectric, which is good for electrical stuff. It makes it make a better connection, and it lubricates it where that disc, since there's friction there, that thing can move better. It just works really good. If you want any of that stuff, the good place to get it is on my website. Go to lionsarcade.com, and at the top there's a parts page, and we've got a lot of stuff listed on there, little minor stuff like this that we use in our videos. So if you want some of your own, you can go check that out. If you follow any of the links on that, it takes you to Amazon. If you buy anything after you go to Amazon, like a car or a house on Amazon, it gives us a tip, so we appreciate that. But that's what we use. And basically, I want to talk about two more things. You want to test it and just make sure that it's moving smoothly. See, that's exactly how it should be. And then this other one here, remember it was sticking just a few minutes ago. Now it is not. But you saw how dirty all of this was. Well, now it's all clean and lubed up, and it works just great, right? Now, one other thing I wanted to show you. See how two of the rivets here have grooves in them. Why is that? What do you need to do about that? Well, if you figure out that it's causing you a problem, you could probably fill them in with solder or something to get it, flush with the top again or whatever to do a little work on that rivet if you wanted to. But I don't think it's really that big of an issue. The reason that it's probably like that, this is the ball count unit, and when you start a game, I believe it probably gives you 5 balls. Minimum ball per game adjustment, 3, 5, and 8. It's set on 8 right now. We had a couple knuckleheads come in. All right, so this is ball 1, ball 2, ball 3, ball 4, ball 5. So I think what probably happens is if it was set on ball 5, that would be where each game starts. So it may just be that it's there more often, and that's why it's worn more. I don't know. Or it could be that at ball 5 something happens and energy runs through it and out that wire, and it burns it a little bit over time. But I think it'll probably work without doing anything to it. But if we had to, we could fill those rivets in and make them a little more smooth like the other ones are. But I think that'll be cool. Okay, so that's that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 5 relays loose, one at a time, and do the same thing that we did on the other ones. Just clean the actual contacts on them. So same as cleaning the switches, you just have switches hanging on the side of a relay. So whenever it pulls in, things close, and whenever it lets back, things open. Or there may be some that are already closed, and whenever they pull in, it opens, or whatever. You just need all that to be clean so that if it's got soot and dirt and oxidation all over it, whenever it touches, electricity won't transfer from contact to contact, so it won't work. So you got to get that nice and clean. So I'm going to clean those up, get that out of the way, and then that will basically just leave all of these score reels. So if I see anything weird on them or anything, I'll point it out. Okay, so got all those cleaned up. We're going to clean up Gottlieb's famous Decagon score reels. They're really not that hard to work on, so let me show you how I do them. So first there's a little lever down here you push to the side to pull them out. It's harder to do with one hand. They don't have it, sometimes they have it pinned in. Let me make sure that it's not the world. Well, that one came right out. But I was trying to do this one. There we go. That one came out. Let's put this one back. So they kind of slide into place here. All right. So basically, you just need to make sure that they're moving smoothly, and the best way to do that is take it all apart and clean everything. See how it's kind of hanging when it gets to the 9. All right, so that's not quite right. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take these 2 screws loose, and we're going to take this little clip off. The way I do it is I use just a little screwdriver, kind of twist it out of there. But I'm not going to do it with one hand here, people. I'm not going to do it with one hand. I could go get the tripod, but what fun would that be? So I'm going to take that off, and there's a little washer under it, and then take those 2 screws off. Okay, so that took about 2 minutes. So once you do that, you can move this up out of the way. Some of them have more wires on them than other ones. This one literally only has 2 wires on the bottom. Some of them have more, you know. So it makes it easier or harder to move. Okay, but you move it up out of the way, and we want to clean this disc and put our dielectric grease on it. So let me do that really quick. So I'm just going to use light sandpaper to clean it up. You can use water if you want. But that's how I do mine, okay? All right, so cleaned up, put a little bit of dielectric grease on it. Now, don't go crazy with the dielectric grease. You don't want it so thick on there that it's got to dig through it to get past it, right? Oh, so we got that. So then we're going to take this off, and it's got a spring, so watch it. Well, there it went, it sprung. So there's this little plastic piece, retainer, and then there's this little deal here. Yours should look about like that. If it's bent up a bunch, make it look about like that. Okay. And then the entire score reel comes off. This is why they call it the decagon, because it is a decagon. There's that little plastic piece there that's actually comes loose. That's our score reel. This piece usually has kind of, a lot of times, this one's pretty clean, but a lot of times it's got like grease or oil stuck on it, which will make it stick like it was just stuck to that score reel. But it's designed with these little things where it can actually slip. And then the actual deal here, there is a little spring. And so whenever this pulls in, you see the little teeth there? They walk along that piece we were just looking at and get it to turn the wheel, right? I usually put a little oil here or grease where that metal hits metal, and then a little here too where this metal hits metal. Your mileage may vary. If it's moving really good, you might just want to run it without it because it looks to me like it didn't have it from the factory. Depends on how dirty it is, I guess. But you can take that farther apart and clean it more if you want, but usually I don't have to. Sometimes this will be bent. There should only be one crease right there. Sometimes you'll see another one where it's been screwed up at some point. And notice that it just continues along this line that it's mounted to and just goes straight, and then there's a little bit of a bend at the end. That goes right there. It rides along this part. So as it turns, that little lever sits in here, and the wheel can't go backwards because of that. I'll show you a little more here in a minute. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to just clean this up, and then it kind of snaps back in place. But you have to do it where the teeth line up with the teeth on the armature there. And then this circle has to snap down over that circle down there. All of this kind of is held by this spring, so you got a lot of it's trying to pop back out on you. So I'm going to clean that up and put it back on, and then I'm going to, this was the next piece, of course, I'm going to clean off this wheel as best I can. I usually just kind of clean the face so it looks good. The dirt in here, if it's just a little bit of grease or whatever, I just leave it because it's got to ride on that metal blade anyway, so it kind of works as a lubrication. So I'm going to clean up those and we'll pop them back on. So here's one of the ones without the board, right? Without that board. So basically they only need that board. These two are on the hit units, so where it can tell how many home runs you have, the run units, I guess they call it. And they need it up here, I guess, for high scores. They need to keep track of whenever you get to a certain score, you win a free ball or free game or whatever it is. Point score adjustment. Right, so if it's, there's a fake one here, so this is the tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. Well, if the point that you get a free ball or whatever at is over 10,000 points, then they don't need to even know what these are on, right? So that little board is so that they can tell what number you're actually on. Because if in most cases they only need to know when you get to 9. So whenever you get to 9, the machine needs to know that it's at 9 so that it can make the next reel change to 1. It's kind of hard to understand, but you get my point. Maybe. So here's kind of how it goes back in place. So on this particular one, it doesn't have that little blade thing that we were showing because it doesn't have the board. But the little plastic piece that holds it in place slides down over it, and you put the clip on the end on the outside of the board. And then as it steps in, that little gear that we were looking at inside of there, can we see it from the back? Oh yeah, there we go. The little gear moves, right? And as it goes forward, it turns the reel. And there's the little metal blade. It's riding up, right? And as it slips, now this can't go backwards because that blade is keeping it from going backwards. So it makes it where it only moves forward and it snaps into position each time. Okay. There's also an end of stroke switch, so that needs to be closed and then open when the thing goes all the way in. Right? And then up here, you get some interesting ones. So we're at 0 right now. So at 0, these inside switches, there's 2 of each of these. Well, on this one, the top's only 1, but the other ones are 2. So there's 2 of those bottom switches, and it's just they're just wired like that so that in case one of them gets bent, it'll still work. But whenever you're at 0, those bottom ones close. The middle ones are open, and the top one's open. Okay, then once you get to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, the middle ones are closed. The bottom ones are open. They only close on 0. The middle ones are closed on everything but 0. And then this top one is open. Okay. So when you get to 9, the middle ones are still closed, but now the top one is closed as well. That's so that it can carry over to the next reel on the next click. So the next time this comes in, since that's closed, it will also send power over to the next score unit and make it move 1. So that you go from 9 to 0 on this one. Well, where'd your 9 go? Well, it went to 10. You got a 1 on the next one because that switch was closed. So you just have to get them right. And then these are completely backwards from the Bally's because on the Bally's, these switches at 0 are all open. But on this one, the switch on the inside closes at 0. So it's just, you can figure out how they're supposed to be just by looking at them in the machine. But on a Bally machine, it would be completely opposite. It's just how they designed it. Okay, so I always like to leave all of mine on like a number other than 0 because whenever you start the game, it's going to attempt to reset all of those, and I want to make sure that it can. So if I've got them all on like 1 or 2, whenever you start it, whenever you're testing it, whenever you start it, it'll have to reset all of them. And then that way you can figure out if all of that works. So let me clean the last couple of them, and then maybe we'll see if she'll start with no playfield in it. So while we're at it, we might as well replace the bulbs in the back box. There are these little, I don't even know what you would call it, stops, I guess, that hold the thing hanging out of the back. And this lever, if you turn it, it makes it where this can fold down. So I'm going to go through and replace the bulbs as I go, just to make sure everything's lighting up as it should. Now there are some that blink. In this particular game, there are these two right here, because there are fireworks on the back glass. And so at the end of the game, it turns these on, and now there's fireworks going off over the stadium. But you can put them kind of wherever you want. Some people put them behind where it says home run, or behind the name or whatever too. So just you can kind of do whatever you want. But these are 555 bulbs, the regular ones, and then the ones there would be 455 bulbs, which blink. Oh, no, I'm sorry, these are not 555s. These are 47s. Originally, it would have been 44s. But if you put a 47 in, it uses a little less heat. I think 40% less. It makes 40% less heat, uses 40% less wattage, etc., etc. There are some places that they've touched up on the back box, I guess, at some point. On the back glass, I mean. But it all looks like it's in pretty good shape, so we're going to leave it. The reason you're hearing that noise is because it's hitting these little stops up here that hold it in place. But whenever you push this forward, it actually touches the back glass in a couple spots and holds it in place. So, but you can put little pieces of foam on there. They originally would have had them, but it dried out over the years. Or you can put like electrical tape, just so that there's a little cushion when the glass actually hits that. But the glass only hits it every once in a while whenever you're in here working on it. So it's not that big of a deal. All right, so I'm going to swap some light bulbs, and then we'll try it out. All right, so all the lights work. New bulbs. Looks pretty good. So little explosions above the stadium. One of those may not be going off there. Maybe. I think there's one here. Maybe it's not going off anymore. We'll look into that. Looks pretty cool. They had a bunch of the bulbs just completely removed from it. So good looking back glass. It's not in perfect shape, but considering that the rest of the game's a little ratty too, it looks good. All right, so I'm going to try to start it, and we'll see what she does. I suppose it needs to get all of the numbers back to 0. It needs to get the ball in play, I guess, up to 5 or something. Or it was set on 8, wasn't it? So it should probably get that up to A. Balls to play up to 8. You'll see our reset bank go, because whenever you hit start, the start relay on there falls. So we'll see what happens. It's tilted, but we may have to figure that out. I can't remember. I think it may do that every time you turn it off. Okay, so let's see if she'll reset. Cool. 8 balls. It does say tilt though, so it's tilting over and over again. And I don't think it's not, the tilt bob isn't doing it. I don't believe. Shouldn't be. Doesn't look like it to me. Alright, so that'll be something we figure out once we put the play field in. But there you go. So I think we've at least got it where it's everything's resetting and it's going back to its starting position. Without the play field, we can't play it or anything, of course. But we're getting there. So I'm impressed. I think she's coming right along. So on our next video, we'll do the play field, and then we'll test play it a little bit. Cool little game. I haven't had a Wedgehead in a while, so we'll see what the gameplay is like. Make sure to give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you. We appreciate you hanging out with us and watching tonight. And we'll see you on the next video. Maybe we'll get to play it a little bit. Gottlieb's home run. So while you're thinking about it, since you made it all the way to the end of the video, make sure to check out my brother Donnie. Now, if you don't know about him, my brother has his own channel here on YouTube. And if you like watching us work on these old pinball machines, you'd probably enjoy watching my brother Donnie work on old buildings, old cars. He's got all kinds of stuff that he does, and I'm usually over there with him. So make sure to check that out, and I'll see you on his channel as well as this one. But we'll be back with the next video probably within 2 days or so. So hang around, and we'll see you soon.